I stood frozen in the doorway of my bedroom, watching as my mother rummaged through my desk drawer. My heart hammered against my ribs as she pulled out my wallet and slid my credit card into her pocket with practiced ease. She hadn't even heard me come home early from my shift at the coffee shop. "Mom? What are you doing with my card?" She jumped, startled, then composed herself with that familiar smile that never quite reached her eyes. "Oh, Emma, honey. I was just borrowing this for a little emergency. Your sister's trip to Boston for her college tour, the payment didn't go through. It's only for today, I promise." I felt that familiar knot form in my stomach. The one that appeared every time Chelsea, my perfect older sister, needed something. The one that reminded me where I stood in the family hierarchy. "You could have asked me first," I said, my voice smaller than I wanted it to be. Mom's expression hardened just enough. "Well, you weren't home. And it's just a small amount. Don't make this into another drama, please." As she brushed past me, I caught a glimpse of the airline confirmation on her phone. The price was $1,897. Nearly $2,000 that I had saved working double shifts for the past year. Money meant for my photography class deposit. Money I'd never see again. What Mom didn't know was that last week, after the emergency car repair for Chelsea that mysteriously cost exactly what I had saved, I had called the bank and set my credit limit to exactly $1. Growing up as Emma Bennett in the shadow of Chelsea Bennett meant living with constant comparisons. Chelsea, straightest student, debate team captain, and future Harvard law prospect. Me, average grades, photography enthusiast, and working part-time since 16 to fund my own dreams because my parents were saving for Chelsea's future. Our suburban Chicago home was a shrine to Chelsea's achievements. Trophies lined the mantel. Professional photos of her in cap and gown dominated the walls. My own art show certificate was tucked away in the spare room, along with the rest of my existence. Dad was less obvious about the favoritism than Mom, but still complicit. "Your sister needs to focus on academics," he'd say when I complained about the uneven distribution of household chores. "You've always been more independent." Independent wasn't a compliment. It was code for "we expect less from you, so we invest less in you." Last Thanksgiving, while helping Mom prepare dinner, I overheard my parents in the living room. Dad's voice carried through the thin walls. "Emma will be fine with community college. She doesn't have Chelsea's potential." That night, I started separating my finances from my parents. I opened a new account, started saving aggressively, and got the credit card for emergencies. I thought I'd protected myself. Until today. Mom returned an hour later, face flushed with anger. "What did you do to your card?" "The transaction was denied." "What do you mean the transaction was denied?" I asked, feigning innocence while my heart raced. Mom's face contorted with frustration. "Don't play dumb, Emma. The cashier said there was a $1 limit on the card. Did you do this on purpose to embarrass me? To sabotage your sister's tour?" Dad walked in, his expression thunderous. "Your mother called me from the travel agency. What's this about your credit card? Chelsea needs to make this trip, her whole future depends on it." The familiar feeling of invisibility washed over me as they stood side by side, a united front against their less important daughter. I felt my throat tighten. "That's my money," I finally said. Money I earned working 20 hours a week while maintaining my grades and doing all the chores around here. Money for my photography course. "Photography?" Mom scoffed. "A hobby isn't the same as a law degree, Emma. This is Chelsea's future we're talking about." "And what about my future?" My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. "You've taken my savings 3 times already this year for Chelsea's emergencies. Her laptop, her car repair, her prom dress." Dad's expression darkened. "We've given you everything, and this is how you repay us? By being selfish when your sister needs support." "Everything?" I laughed, the sound hollow even to my own ears. "You haven't even come to a single one of my gallery showings. You missed my graduation because Chelsea had a cold." That's enough. Dad slammed his hand on the counter. You will call the bank right now and remove that limit, or there will be consequences. Mom nodded in agreement. We're your parents. That means we decide what's best for this family. No. The word hung in the air between us, small but defiant. I'd never directly refused them before. What did you just say? Dad's voice dropped dangerously low. I said no. I'm 18. That's my account, my money, and my decision. My hands were shaking, but I clenched them into fists at my sides. Chelsea got a full ride to her summer program last year, but you still took my saved tuition money for her supplies. Where did that money really go? Mom stepped forward, her finger pointing at my face. How dare you question us? After all we've sacrificed. For Chelsea, I interrupted. You've sacrificed for Chelsea. For me, you've just sacrificed me. Dad grabbed my arm, his fingers digging in. You will not speak to your mother that way. You will call the bank now or what? I pulled away. You'll ground me? Take away my phone that I pay for myself? Stop paying for college you never intended to help with anyway. The truth hung heavy between us. For years, I'd been told my independence was a virtue while Chelsea's dependence was justified. I'd believed I was less deserving of their support, their attention, their love. You know what? I'll call the bank. I pulled out my phone, my fingers trembling as I dialed. But instead of the bank, I called my best friend Sarah. Hey, can I stay at your place for a while? I'm packing a bag now. Mom's face fell. Emma, don't be dramatic. I'll be out of your way in 30 minutes, I said, ending the call. Then you can focus entirely on Chelsea without the burden of your other daughter. As I threw clothes into my duffel bag, memories flooded back, each one a paper cut on my heart. 10 years old, winning first place in the school art contest. My parents promised to come but sent my aunt instead because Chelsea had a soccer game. I stood alone afterward, my certificate clutched in small hands, watching other kids leave with parents who took them for celebration ice cream. 14, spending Christmas morning photographing Chelsea opening her new laptop and designer clothes while I received socks and a journal. We're teaching you the value of money, Mom had explained when she saw my face fall. 16, getting my first paycheck and having Dad suggest I contribute to the household bills since you're working anyway. Chelsea, also 16 but without a job, received a car for her birthday that same month. Last year, finding the brochure for my dream photography program in New York crumpled in the trash after I'd left it on the kitchen table. When confronted, Mom said, "We thought you were just daydreaming. It's not like you can afford something like that." But the worst memory was from just 3 months ago. I'd overheard Chelsea and Mom in the kitchen. "Don't worry about the cost," Mom had said. "We have Emma's college fund we can use since she'll probably just go to community college anyway." Chelsea had at least had the decency to sound uncomfortable. "Shouldn't we ask Emma first?" "It's her money. It's family money," Mom had corrected. "And in this family, we prioritize real opportunities." That night, I'd cried myself to sleep, then woken up with a new resolve. I would protect myself since no one else would. Sarah's mom, Diana, took one look at my tear-stained face when I arrived at their apartment and pulled me into a hug. Unlike my mother's stiff embraces, Diana's arms felt safe, warm. "Stay as long as you need, honey," she said, showing me to their spare room. I always have room for my second daughter. Over cups of hot chocolate, I told them everything: the years of being second best, the financial exploitation, today's credit card incident. With each word, the burden lightened slightly. "Emma," Diana said gently when I finished, "what they're doing isn't normal. It's financial abuse, and you don't deserve it." "But they're my parents," I whispered. "Shouldn't I help my family?" Diana shook her head. "Family supports each other equally. They don't sacrifice one child for another." Sarah squeezed my hand. "Remember Mr. Delgado? Your photography teacher?" I nodded. Mr. Delgado had been championing my work for years, encouraging me to apply for art schools and scholarships. He asked about you at the community center yesterday. Said there's a last-minute opening in the summer mentorship program with full funding. He recommended you, but he needs an answer by Friday. For the first time in days, I felt a flicker of hope. The mentorship could lead to portfolio development, connections, maybe even college recommendations. You have talent, Emma, Diana said firmly. Real talent. Don't let anyone convince you that your dreams are less important. That night, in the quiet of Sarah's spare room, I made a decision. I would stop waiting for my parents to value me. I would value myself. 3 days of silence from my parents passed before my phone buzzed with a text from Chelsea. We need to talk. Coffee shop on Main and 30. I almost declined, but curiosity won out. Chelsea was waiting when I arrived, looking uncharacteristically nervous. I didn't know, she blurted as soon as I sat down. About the money, about your savings. I swear, Emma. I stirred my coffee slowly. How can you not know? You think college tours and laptops pay for themselves. Mom and Dad always said they had it covered. She pushed a folder across the table. But after you left, I went looking through their files. I found these. Inside were bank statements, withdrawal slips, and a shocking revelation, a college fund in my name that had been systematically emptied over the past 2 years. Nearly $30,000 that I never knew existed, gone. There's more, Chelsea said quietly. My emergencies weren't real. The car works fine, Dad just wanted to upgrade some parts. The laptop was a gift for his assistant's kid. The college tour. She looked down. I already got accepted last month with a partial scholarship. The trip was actually for them to look at vacation properties near campus. The coffee shop spun around me as the pieces clicked into place. It wasn't just favoritism. My parents had been actively stealing from me while lying to both their daughters. Why are you showing me this now? I asked, my voice hollow. Chelsea's eyes filled with tears. Because I always thought they were just stricter with you because you were stronger than me. I never realized they were hurting you. Taking from you. When I saw these papers. She pushed another document forward. This is a cashier's check for $3,000. It's all I have in my savings. It's yours. I stared at the check, then at my sister, really seeing her clearly for perhaps the first time. Not my competitor, but another pawn in our parents' twisted game. The check from Chelsea stayed untouched on my dresser at Sarah's house for 2 days while I processed everything. It wasn't just about the money, it was about years of gaslighting, of being told my feelings were invalid, my dreams impractical, my worth secondary. On the 3rd day, I called Mr. Delgado and accepted the mentorship position. His excitement was palpable through the phone. I always knew you had what it takes, Emma, he said. Your perspective is unique, raw, and honest. The program directors were blown away by your portfolio. Next, I called the bank and formally removed my parents' access to all my accounts. The representative asked if I wanted to file a fraud report for previous transactions, but I declined. Some battles weren't worth fighting. Finally, I deposited Chelsea's check and sent her a text. Thank you. Not just for this. For telling me the truth. Her reply came quickly. I'm moving into a dorm early. Want to get an apartment together next semester. The idea of building a real relationship with my sister, away from our parents' toxic influence, felt like a fragile new possibility. I replied with a simple maybe. That evening, Diana helped me apply for additional scholarships and grants. Sarah assisted with revamping my portfolio website. For the first time, I was surrounded by people who supported my dreams without qualification, who saw value in my path. You know, Diana said as we finished the applications, healing isn't linear. Some days will be harder than others. I nodded, thinking of the 18 years of conditional love I was trying to unlearn. I know. But at least I'm finally moving forward instead of just surviving. A week later, my parents showed up at the coffee shop where I worked. I saw them through the window and felt my chest tighten, but straightened my spine and continued serving customers. When my break came, I approached their table with the calm of someone who no longer needed their approval. "Emma," Mom started, her voice softer than usual. "We've been worried sick. You need to come home." Dad nodded. "This rebellion has gone on long enough. We're still your parents. Is that why you're here?" I asked. "To parent me? Or because your access to my accounts has been cut off?" Their expressions confirmed what I already knew. This wasn't about missing me. "Chelsea told us what she did," Mom said, her tone hardening. "That money was meant for family emergencies. Like your vacation property?" I raised an eyebrow. "Or Dad's gifts for his assistant?" Dad's face flushed. "You have no idea about adult responsibilities, the sacrifices we've made." "Actually, I do understand sacrifice," I interrupted. "I've been sacrificing my needs, my dreams, and my self-worth for years to maintain your illusion of being good parents. I'm done with that now." I placed an envelope on the table. "This is a breakdown of all the money you've taken from me without permission. I don't expect you to pay it back, but I want you to know exactly what you stole from your daughter." Mom tried to reach for my hand. "Honey, we only wanted what was best for the family." "No," I pulled away. "You wanted what was best for yourselves, and you used Chelsea and me as pawns. The difference is, I see it now." I stood up, surprising myself with how steady I felt. "I don't hate you. That would require emotional energy I'm not willing to spend anymore. But I don't trust you, and I won't let you hurt me again." As I walked away, Dad called after me, "You can't just erase your family, Emma." I turned back one last time. I'm not erasing my family. I'm building a new one with people who actually care about my happiness. Summer bloomed into fall, and with it came transformations I never could have imagined. The mentorship program led to my photographs being featured in a small gallery showing. Standing beside my work on opening night, surrounded by Sarah, Diana, Mr. Delgado, and even Chelsea, I felt a completeness that had nothing to do with parental approval. Chelsea and I were cautiously rebuilding our relationship. Years of being pitted against each other couldn't be undone overnight, but we were trying. She'd moved into her dorm early as planned and was setting boundaries with our parents for the first time in her life. "They keep asking me to convince you to come home," she admitted over coffee one afternoon. "I told them you're not a child to be controlled anymore." My apartment was tiny, a studio above a bookstore that I could just afford with my coffee shop job and a small scholarship stipend, but it was mine. No one monitored my comings and goings. No one made me feel like an unwelcome guest. I'd painted one wall dark blue and hung my photographs in clean white frames. A statement of ownership. Mom still sent occasional texts, alternating between guilt trips and attempts at normalcy. Dad had shown up at the coffee shop twice more, each time leaving when I refused to engage on his terms. Their power over me diminished with each encounter. The hardest part wasn't the logistics of independence, it was unlearning the belief that I deserved less. Diana recommended a therapist who specialized in family trauma, and slowly, I began to recognize the patterns that had shaped my self-perception. "Your worth isn't measured by what your parents failed to see," my therapist told me during a particularly difficult session. "It exists independently of their recognition." On the day I received my acceptance letter to the photography program in New York with a partial scholarship, I didn't call my parents. Instead, I celebrated with the family I'd chosen, people who cheered for my success without qualification or comparison. Standing on the rooftop of Diana's building that evening, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time, it was truly mine. Sometimes the greatest act of love is the one you finally give yourself. I realize now that all those years, I was waiting for permission to matter, permission that could only come from within. The credit card with its $1 limit still sits in my wallet. Not because I need it anymore, but as a reminder of the day I finally said enough. The day I realized that while we can't choose the family we're born into, we can absolutely choose the one we become. And that choice has made all the difference.